The well-being of mankind, its peace and security, are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. This unity can never be achieved so long as the counsels which the pen of the Most High hath revealed are suffered to pass unheeded. Baha'u'llah.
These principles and laws, these firmly established and mighty systems, have proceeded from one source and are the rays of one light. That they differ one from another is to be attributed to the varying requirements of the ages in which they were promulgated. Baha'u'llah.
The fundamental principle enunciated by Baha'u'llah, the followers of his faith firmly believe, is that religious truth is not absolute but relative, that divine revelation is a continuous and progressive process, that all the great religions of the world are divine in origin, that their basic principles are in complete harmony, that their aims and purposes are one and the same, that their teachings are but facets of one truth, that their functions are complementary, that they differ only in the non-essential aspects of their doctrines, and that their missions represent successive stages in the spiritual evolution of human society. Shoghi Effendi.
Thank you. So today our speaker is Dr. Habib Riazati, and he'll be talking about one common faith and religion in the making. Alex Habib Riazati has been a scientist and strategist at Boeing Defense Integrated Systems for the last 38 years. He's also been a psychotherapist with a PhD in clinical psychology for the past 17 years, with a private practice called Integrative Counseling LLC. He's the founder of the Human in the Making Foundation, a nonprofit organization aimed at motivating and empowering individuals to actualize their hidden noble potentials, enriching families and communities, and enabling them to develop social interests, offer unconditional services to their fellow humans, and continuously engage in abolishing human rights violations and abuses. Moreover, he is the coordinator of the Ocean of Lights website, the repository of the Baha'i writings, categorized based on tablets and primary scholarly sources. He's also the author of 3 volumes of work on fundamental verities and progressive revelation, and is the program director of the television program Danesh Binesh Azadi. So with that, I'll hand it off to Dr. Riazati.
Good morning. I am privileged to be with you. The topic that we have, which I hope it is engaging for you, is one common faith or a common faith, and religion, and in particular, religion in the making. Do you know there are 2 concepts? One is religion, one is religious, and one is the follower of the faith. The distinction between the 2 had been made, especially after the Renaissance, European Renaissance, when the scholars, people at all levels, they felt that religion, which is defined as a organized, institutionalized, controlled by the pillars of the churches, did not really change their life when religion was supposed to be the agent of change. So this is why many people started to think about religious experiences versus to uphold a religion as a belief system. To start with, I believe many people, such as Thomas Paine, wrote the famous book, The Age of Reason, and he started to question the religious doctrines and came to the conclusion that if we do not properly understand these doctrines, these especially Old and New Testament, and I add Quran, I add Bayan, I add Baha'i writings. Thomas Paine believed that misunderstanding can cause the spirit of these fundamental faiths to fly away. He, for the first time, perhaps started to use one common faith, meaning that there is one faith, and he believed that eventually all religions will agree and become one. And it is very interesting in that Age of Reason, which I highly recommend if you are interested in the history of religion and faith, read it. He says one day the unity of mankind will be established. And you are talking about Thomas Paine, and you are talking about 1700s, 1800s. So another very famous person who was a philosopher, at the same time psychologist, to the some standards, was John Dewey. John Dewey wrote a book called A Common Faith. It is a 1934 compilation of 3 lectures given at Yale University. That and it is known as a 30 lectures at Yale University. That is very fundamental work to study in order to understand the difference between faith, religiosity, and religion. The last but not the least, it is a work by the Universal House of Justice. It is actually, again, one common faith, which was compiled, produced with the supervision of the Universal House of Justice, and therefore it requires high attention, especially if you are a non-Baha'is and you are in this gathering. I highly recommend reading these 3 documentations. As a researcher, read it. As an investigator, read it. And if you are really interested in living the life, why these things are important and why faith and religion is a major issue. It is needless for me to state that at the current time, whenever you talk about religion, the people start to wonder. Why? Because as I mentioned before, the behaviors of the followers, lack of understanding of the fundamentals of religion, the aim of a religion, how should we consider a religion, has been all the subject of discussion. Even at the center of religion, a term God, G-O-D, has become the subject of a lot of exploration. The situation is such that the people could not I repeat, could not just let go of God, religion, religiosity, faith, because unconsciously it was bothering them. Because some, such as Carl Jung, psychologists, believe that the people, regardless of who they are, they have some tendency to religiosity of some sort. So it became a trouble for humankind. They had to somehow make sense out of it. This is why Karen Armstrong wrote a book called History of God. Who is God? G-O-D. Is that really a creator? Does really the universe requires creator? Or is the unknowable essence? Is it he? Why not she? Why not it? Was really when Nietzsche said God is dead in his work Gay Science, and then in Zoroaster, Das said Zoroaster, Nietzsche, when he said that God is dead, I am going to go and bury him, and the people said, hold on, what are you doing, Nietzsche? He says, unless I bury this God, the true God shall not rise. So, and as you know, Nietzsche is critical, again, to understand religion, faith, God, and he was a contemporary of both Bab and Baha'u'llah. In fact, Nietzsche was born 1844, the same year that Bab declared. A good research work is to compare, if you are a researcher, if you are an investigator, if you are after the truth, to actually compare some of the revolutionary remarks that Bob made versus what Nietzsche raised, in order to realize that the concerns of humankind has been the central theme for everyone, from the manifestations to the philosophers, to the scientists, and so forth. So enough of giving you some resources, because I believe you need to read it for yourself. Do you know the title that I offered was A Common Faith, What Religion in the Making? Why do I have I phrased it like that? Do you know, if you are a Baha'i, or even if you are not a Baha'i, one of the major work of Baha'u'llah, or the most praised work of Baha'u'llah, is Kitab Aqdas, the most holy book. It is a passage in Aqdas, I believe it is in paragraph 182. Do you know? My mind, I have to be careful, but 182, if it was 181, please do not curse me. But to my knowledge, it's 182, that Baha'u'llah raises a very fundamental concept, and that is changeless fate. He states this is a changeless fate of God, eternal in the past, eternal in the future. This is very interesting. So apparently there is a reality which is changeless. A reality is not time-bound. the reality which is not contextual, and at the same time, there is a reality which operates within the domain of time and space. For the sake of distinction, I call the second one religion in the making. Please pay attention. This has been one of the dilemma of religious followers, that on one hand, they believe that their religion is the best, complete, finished. Whosoever destroys a dot from Torah, he can be killed. Heaven and earth might be destroyed, but the words of the Son of God would not be destroyed. Muhammadian believe that Islam is the religion in the sight of God, and whosoever accept any religion other than Islam, he will not be accepted. And therefore, Moses will be the only, please pay attention, only person that requires attention if you're a Jew. And therefore, then a story becomes interesting. Then if you believe in Moses, you become the chosen one. So you're chosen, the rest of the people are not chosen because you believe in Moses. If you are Christian, well, either you are saved or you are not saved. If you want to be saved, you have to believe in Christianity, you have to believe in Jesus. Jesus is the Son of God, Jesus is God, and you go to Muhammad, you see the same stories repeating. If you look at this thing from 15,000 feet, you see something doesn't add up. Many things do not add up. Then you come, interestingly enough, to the Baha'i Faith. Baha'i Faith says, Habib, you lost it. You have to believe in Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, Bob, Baha'u'llah, and you have to believe in all those religions. Then Habib may ask, but excuse me, Moses said, I am the first and the last. How can I even accept the validity of Jesus if he is the first and the last? How can I accept Muhammad if Jesus is the way and the only way? And how can I accept the Baha'i Faith if Muhammad is the seal, the complete, the Lord of the messengers, and then Islam is the end? So please pay very good attention to this dichotomy, if you will. On one hand, there is changeless reality. On the other hand, everything is subject to change. This is a very good example of Hegelian paradox dialectical system. There is a thesis, there is an antithesis, and you have to somehow create synthesis. And this synthesis becomes a thesis for another set of antithesis. I hope that you know where am I going. If I haven't confused you, either you're sleeping or it is early in the morning, at least for Californians. What is happening here? How can the faith be changeless? At the same time, you have multiplicity of religion. Could you have one religion? Could you have, as these followers claim, this changeless religion? See, they do not say changeless faith, changeless religion. What is faith? Faith really has to do with the personal, has to do with anything that causes transformation within a person and does only deals with the unification as a whole. I quote there are many Baha'i writings. You know, Baha'u'llah has over 15,000 tablets. Abdul Baha Abbas has over 30,000 tablets. Shoghi Effendi has over 30,000 letters. So in order to gain a proper understanding, you need to create a system. What was in the mind of Baha'u'llah, what was in the interpretation of Abdul Baha, what was the explanation of beloved Shoghi Effendi, guardian of the Bahá'í Faith. Without a system view, it is guaranteed that you always miss something or you do not get an adequate understanding. This is why system theory becomes very, very important. Please pay attention. This is why humility in stating what any system of belief is saying is essential. This is why you never claim to understand befittingly what was in the heart and the mind of Baha'u'llah. We get closer to it. This is very important. We get closer to it. But there is one distinctive feature, and that is, this is a system. System has an elements. Elements have relationship. Relationships are essential, necessary. We know that faith looks at system which is unifying. Faith doesn't really require evidence because everything that exists is an evidence. Faith creates serenity. Faith creates peace. How? What does that really mean? Because faith has to do with religiosity. Religiosity has to do with the universal, systematic way of looking at the universe as a whole. No, see, things became a little bit easier. Religiosity. What does religion mean? In a sense, religiosity means to reunite. Religiosity means to look at unity. Religiosity, I quote Albert Einstein, means to believe in a cosmic religion. Cosmic religion, which everything which is created actually is a sign of a reality which is hidden. Nothing is the reality in itself, rather it is a revelation, if you will, according to Baha'u'llah in the Book of Certitude. Everything is a manifestation of the attributes of a reality which is unknown. This is so powerful, and whether you believe it or not, majority of humankind has come to understand that that type of faith is essential, necessary. Einstein, who is a physicist and in a sense is a philosopher, he said this system, this religious system, only has one language: unconditional love. The more you love with understanding, then you are closer to the term of religiosity, which means consider parts in a system and a system with the parts. Where the parts are complementary, they are not contradictory. This is very uplifting. So the faith means what? Faith, in a sense, is those fundamental principles that exist. Fundamental principles that, regardless of time, regardless of space, you require to uphold it. In physics, Newton created some fundamental principles. Gravity. Whether you're Persian, you're an Arab, you're an American, you're rich, you're poor, please don't go and jump from the top stairs. You die. There is nothing that can save you but understanding gravity. So gravity is one of the fundamental laws. Therefore, faith is correlated to the universal laws. And it is very interesting. Baha'u'llah in his writings, when he speaks about the laws, when he talks about those fundamental laws, is capital L. The same as in a material world, contextual world. By contextual world means a world which operates within the domain of time and space. You have some fundamental laws that you cannot abrogate. Baha'u'llah, being a manifestation of God, I will explain what does that term really mean for those of you who may not be familiar with the concept of God in a way that is acceptable for humankind in the 21st century. Baha'u'llah stated that our soul, our spirit also, operates with the fundamental laws. What are those fundamental laws? Are all enshrined in his writing. This is why Kitab Aqdas, paragraph 5, I believe, he says, don't think I have created the mere codes of laws. No, I have not revealed the mere codes of laws. Nay, in addition to that, I'm paraphrasing, I have unsealed the sealed wine. On one hand, he believes in the law with capital L, which are the fundamental verities, which generates faith, generates love, generates unity and justice and peace. But on the other hand, he says, Habib, although the small L laws are essential and should be abide, you have to recognize, Habib, that those are the means, not the end. The end, Habib, is to unseal the sealed wine. What do you mean, Baha'u'llah? I thought we should not drink wine. He said that is a small wine, contextual wine. But that wine with capital W is that which releases your conscience. You go out of this world, he says, that we call faith, we call spirituality, and most importantly, those treasures, those valuable concepts, meaning, if you will, that are enshrined within the universe, and in particular in the Baha'i revelation, that I, he says, have not only created some mechanical laws, do's and don'ts, nay, in fact, do's and don'ts are a means to unravel those hidden treasures which are enshrined within you. This is why Loh Maqsood comes into picture, that the purpose of revelation is education, as Abdul Baha Abbas emphasizes it in some answered question. But Baha'u'llah in Loh Maqsood says that the aim is that you, as a human being, are like a mines full of gems, and therefore religion, laws are means for unraveling those gems that are within you. This is highly critical in 21st century psychology, that religion has to reunite me. I have an emotion, I have a cognition, and I have an action. Harmony, unity between my feelings, my belief system, my words and my actions actually creates a sense of religiosity in me. Whether I'm a Jew, I'm a Baha'i, I believe in God, I don't believe in God, I cannot escape that reality. This is why, please pay attention, I gave you the application of religiosity or faith. Faith is where you feel harmony within yourself. Faith is when you actually are connected to the universe. Faith is when you look at the vegetable, you look at the animal, you look at the mineral, you have the same reverence as you do for God, for another human being. This is why you do not even bother an ant, let alone human. That is a sign of faith. That is a sign of holism. You become holy. Holy What does holy mean now? Holy, one aspect of it in a realm of faith, which is changeless, which is timeless, which is spaceless. It means whole, holy, wholest, healthy, whole. The wider your vision, more holistic your vision, you are more holy. Please pay attention to this definition. This is why in everything that we do, we have to ask ourselves, it is religion obligation or religious as a changeless faith, which bring the nobility of an individual and guarantees the unity of humankind. And never ever forget that the central theme of all the revelations has been oneness of humankind. Please never forget that, because if you forget that, then you actually fall into the realm of time and space, and you would not appreciate the power of faith. So faith simply means an ability that it has to be trained, it has to be educated to see the whole world as one system of interconnected elements which have logical, necessary, cohesive relationship. In order to understand that process, read the work of Alfred North Whitehead. Has a book called Process and Reality. These books are very essential, especially if you are a Baha'i. Uphold what beloved Shoghi Effendi has over and over addressed us, saying, for every Baha'i book, read some non-Baha'i books. Read it. Why? Because you widen your vision, you become more humble, and you appreciate the good which is in the universe by others. And when you read them, try to find the good things in them. Why? Because we do not make idol of anyone. We just look at the good of everyone. If somebody has 10 qualities, one bad, you do not concentrate on one bad, unless you are in a time and a space, unless you are centering around self, lower self. But if you look at the higher self, then if a person has 10 bad qualities and one good, you look at that one good, because that one good has constructive energy, because the universe is nothing but energy. Either it is potential or it is kinetic, and again, whether potential or a kinetic is constant. These are very key factors to understand faith versus religion. Now, when you talk about faith, therefore, you talk about something which is holistic. Every person has a value. Every person is different, but the differences does not contradict the unity. It is only a diversity. This is why Abdul Baha Abbas so beautifully, so profoundly states, just consider it like a garden. It is that garden which is a faith. Look at it as a garden with a diversified colors. But these colors are contextual. It can be your nationality, it can be your race, it can be your cultural background, but you never, never, ever forget that your reality is that you are human. So faith talks about unity, talks about personal experience, talks about personal transformation. Please pay attention. Personal transformation. Transform. Trans means go beyond. Form what you are. Go beyond religion only as a means to do or not to do. Be concerned with something higher than that via applying that. Please pay attention. Faith is actually, when you say, please pay attention, where are you going on Sundays? I'm going to the mosque, I'm going to the churches of different religion. I'm going to Mashriq al-Askar. Very good. Bahá'í Temple. Very good, very good. Especially if you are in Chicago, you are a few hours, half an hour. Very good. Faith says that is very good. But true church is the universe. True church is your own heart. He says, because your heart is the seat of revelation, Muhammad. Faith means recognizing that God is closer to you than your own vein. Then the question is, why am I so away from it? Baha'u'llah has an interpretation on that passage. Please pay attention, therefore. Let your vision be bold, embracing, rather than confined to thine own self. When your vision is bold, embracing, you really are dealing with a changeless faith of God. And in the realm of practice, you only busy yourself with that which serves the fundamental requirement for the universal faith, which is unity of humankind. That is to say, in the realm of religion, you do things, and before you do it, you ask, how does that help to bring about unity of humankind? I would like to offer you to read Immanuel Kant. This is why some people say never leave home without Kant, because Kant was the one who actually said morality. He linked this concept of faith with morality and the law. And he believed that morality or act is moral if it is universal. The act is moral if it is metaphysical. Metaphysical means it's not bounded by time and space and self-interest or national interest or group interest. Please pay attention. This is why he actually has a book I offer you to read. It says, Metaphysical Principle of Morals. that no act is moral if it is not beyond the needs of this world. It has to have only one object: to increase unity, to increase peace, which is perpetual, which increase justice. Now I come to those, but please pay attention how these words that we have been using it so loosely is so significant suddenly. That, oh, Habib, Saturday morning, why are you waking me up? Bahá'í Faith, that's all. No, it's not. Yeah, you said it right. It is about all, but it is not that's all. Habib is a follower of Bahá'í Faith, which also believes in a religion in the making. Please pay attention. What do you mean? Because Bahá'í Faith is a changeless faith in a message which is fundamental: unity of humankind. Abdul Baha Abbas, in his trips to Europe, to America, to Egypt, emphasized this. Another very, very famous resource that I humbly present to you is the talks of Abdul Baha Abbas, Proclamation of Universal Peace, Khitabat, the addresses. We have to see how Abdul Baha Abbas, who actually shows us how this metaphysical concept can come into the realm of practice, has to be understood in Europe, in America, in Egypt. He actually, in the old age, he made sure that we understand that Moses talk in London. It is in Proclamation of Universal Peace. When he says the aim of Moses was unity of humankind, the purpose of Jesus was establishment of unity of humankind, Muhammad, unity of humankind, and now Baha'u'llah ushers, provides means to establish unity of humankind. Please pay attention now. Changeless faith of God. Unity of humankind was the purpose of all religions. And when we say all religions, do not confine yourself to the religion descended from Abraham. When they asked Muhammad, how many manifestations we have had? He says, well, to make it short and sweet, 124,000. Wow, 124,000? Why they didn't teach me about them? He says, oh, I only add something else. From these 124,000, a little bit over 300, the reason that I don't give the exact number, because in different traditions, different numbers are given. Over 313 of them were the major manifestation, independent manifestation, and rest of them were dependent manifestation. Muhammad, what does independent mean? What did dependent mean? To make it short and sweet, means those who bring a new evolution, creative evolution. To give you a very, very distinct example, look at Moses versus all the prophets that appeared between Moses and Jesus. which constitutes the Old Testament. Moses emphasized the importance of the law. Jesus emphasized the importance of the law. Muhammad emphasized the importance of submission. Bob emphasized the concept of detachment and readiness. Baha'u'llah emphasized welcome home, which is unity. That doesn't mean Moses wasn't concerned about unity. Abdul Baha says no. Moses was operating by the metaphysical principle of unity of humankind, because the purpose of all system is unification of that system. Please see how religion and science now talk to each other. Scientifically, everything is correlated. How can humankind, religions would not be interconnected? This is why beloved Shoghi Effendi talks. I highly recommend, I beg you, as a student of the faith, I say that. I do not consider myself anything but a student of the revelations, a student of the revelation of science, faith, religion, and most importantly, humanism. Never forget, religion, science, all of them have to make us better human, upright human. The humans who do not backbite, fault finding, and all those things which are detrimental to the station of humans. But Shoghi Effendi, if it is ignored, whether you are a Baha'i or a non-Baha'i, because my presentation, I never consider that the person might be a Baha'i. I say Baha'i faith is about reality, about unity, and we have to present it to everyone, and you have to present it to everyone who seeks the truth. But let the people themselves determine for themselves whether it is a truth for them or not, because religious experiences have varieties, yeah, and the people try to make it the same, and it is not right. Two people would not experience religiosity the same, but as long as it is religious, means unifying, that's good. I highly recommend the book. Read it by psychologist, philosopher, that it is called The Varieties of Religious Experiences, a study in human nature. It was written by Harvard psychologist, philosopher William James. This book, 1902. Read that book to understand how religious faith would be actually manifested through variety of experiences. Buddhism, Baha'i faith, and so many others. And then the common faith, it says, never forget those experiences had to lead you to the oneness Does not sameness, oneness, but from the same essence, which is you are a human, God's image. Now, let's see, how many more minutes do I have, my friend? Because half of these people are sleeping, some of them are snoring. No, we are doing good.
Yeah, we're good. We have 30 more minutes, but also we want to leave some time for questions.
Okay, 30 more minutes. So I better go and study for 30 more minutes. See, God. Is God really the center of faith and religion? Well, yes, no. God, G-O-D. G-O-D? Why they do not call it G-G-G, G-O-B? Why they chose a G-O-D for God's sake? See, I am not using his own name. Why? Does God, G-O-D, really has anything to do with the source of all good, as Baha'u'llah emphasizes in the tablet of Asl Kull Khair, the source of all good? Is it really God is a synonym for a universal good and the source of universal good? Please pay attention. If God and good are synonyms, can we say God is just a pointer, for those of you who know mathematics, to a reality which is all-encompassing, comprehensive reality, which only speaks about unconditional truth? Please pay attention. Mr. Nietzsche said, God is dead. You as a Baha'i, I remember a Christian, I think it was religious person, had a t-shirt in the front, it was saying, God is dead. And then in the back it said, Nietzsche is dead before God. That means it took it very emotionally, very rationally. Please pay attention. Emotionally, rationally. While the God cannot be approached like that. When Nietzsche in the Gay Science stated a phrase that in English is famous, paraphrased that as God is dead, he was talking about God of idle fancies and vain imaginings that Baha'u'llah also is talking about. God which controls every one of us, creates war, creates sickness, and then at the same time he tells you, please pray for me to make you heal. You say, hey, Mr. God, why you made me sick, for God's sake? Why you did not prevent me to be sick? See, this type of very childish analysis of God led for people to question God. Is he a creator? Oh, really? What does creator mean? Bertrand Russell, he said, that means he is a primal cause? Yes, yes. Well, do you believe in cause and effect, therefore, right, Bertrand Russell? Yes. Well, so can we say the thesis is everything has a cause? If that is true, then how did you, from that principle, you came to something which doesn't have a cause. John Stuart Mill states, I asked my daddy, Daddy, how did I show up? Make it short. He says, to make it short and sweet, mommy and daddy was involved. Okay, and then the night was long, so they had a long discussion. Okay, daddy, how did Adam and Eve finally came out? He says, God created them. Oh, daddy, how did God show up? The dad says, let's change the subject, my son. Bertrand Russell says, that is all it can get you. Because you believe in cause and effect, but you forget that cause and effect is a principle that operates in the contingent world. But that source which is beyond forms would not necessarily have to be defined, proved, especially proved by these laws, by this reasoning. Why? Abdul Baha Abbas, some answer question. Proof is something which does not go well. Why? Because proof requires either you be similar to that which you want to prove, or you have control over it. Otherwise, can a table prove, define the attributes of the carpenter? Absolutely not. So Nietzsche, to me, had a high contribution for the people to question their belief, their God of idle fancy and vain imagining. And rather than seeking God in the skies, in the churches, they find God first in their own inner self, to the point that Muhammad, Baha'u'llah, says, whosoever knows himself is a pathway to know God. That true self with capital S, which according to Baha'u'llah in Loh Hadi, in the first instance refers to the highest reality of the realm of manifestation of human, which is manifestation of God. So God is unknowable. God cannot be defined. God does not have attributes. Why? Because when you have attributes, that means you are actually are human-like. This is why the contemporary of Baha'u'llah philosophers said, it seems that we have to change Old Testament. When he said, God made man in his image, he says, no, we have to change it to man made God in his own image. Please pay attention. Baha'u'llah and Bob rescued that concept. He says, it's true. You tell me one thing about you that Mr. God doesn't have it. Either the things that you are weak, you say God has it, or the things that you have, you say God has it more. So you are the center. This is why Freud, has a very, very famous work, short, meaningful, Future of an Illusion. He says, don't make your God to be the God of fear, need. That God, which is not the result of love, Einstein, cosmic love, unconditional love, you do not benefit from it. Oh, so what am I praying for? You are praying to understand these essentials, that everything in the world are interconnected. First, articles of the faith. Second, there are an infinite number of worlds. There is not only one world. Look at the tablet that Baha'u'llah talks about world and worlds. It is in tablets of Baha'u'llah revealed after the Kitab Aqdas. These worlds are interconnected. They all operate in a cohesive manner. When you read a prayer, simply Habib is asking, "O force which is not defined, oh, help me to be content with that which is good for the entire worlds of God, for myself and others." That is different type of a prayer. Oh God, give me, give me, give me. Really? Sometimes he gives it to you and you will be sorry for it, but this is why don't insist on it. You will get it and then you blame him. So it doesn't matter what happens, he is to blame. But remember that God is a God of idle fancy and vain imagining, and that is dead. Nietzsche is right. No. But God is not dead. Good is not dead. Universal good is not dead. So if God is unknowable essence, therefore where am I praying to? If you really want to pray to something, because see, the moment that you pray to one thing, that means thing is contextual time and space. But if you like, then you are a human, right? You are the sign of a universal revelation of God, Tajalli Am. But there is one human being, according to Baha'u'llah, in Kitab Iran, part 2. See, I'm giving you all the references that you just open the book and read it. He says, and between these humans that are all noble and they have all God's attributes, there is one that is the dawning place of all the attributes. We call that manifestation of God. We call that Baha'u'llah. Please pay attention. Baha'u'llah is that essence, that reality, which is timeless, spaceless. This is why Baha'u'llah has to be differentiated from that mirror that actually represents the dawning place of that son of reality that is called Baha'u'llah. Please pay attention to the passage in some answer question. When Abdul Baha says there are two types of people. Some people are a lover of a mirror, of a lamp. There are some people who are the follower, the lover of the light. Those people who are the follower of the lamp, he says, they are ignorant, lost. And those people who are the follower of the light, they recognize it at every instance. Faith has to do with that light. Baha'u'llah is that light. And that Baha'u'llah appeared in Moses, in Jesus, in Muhammad, in Bob, and again in Mirza Hussain Ali Nuri. We do not look at Mirza Hussain Ali Nuri or Moses or Jesus as a person only. Of course, they have 3 stations. They are human. They have their own interests, but there is one spirit which distinguishes them from other human beings. That religiously they call it Holy Spirit, means a distinctive feature. Read the tablet called Surah Heikal, Tablet of Temple, that you actually, when you look at them, you do not see them. Mirza Hussain Ali is not seen. Mirza Ali Muhammad is not seen. Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, is not seen. Rather, they become a mirror that within them you see the Son of reality. Surah Heikal, when he says that within me you see God, within my face you see the face of God, within my hand you see the hands of God. That doesn't mean that he believes that he's God. No, he's the dawning place of the revelation. Please pay attention. The people who are a follower of faith understand that. Jesus is the Son of God. What? What did you say? Son of God in the realm of contingency is wrong. Muhammad was right in Quran to say, Christians, you made a mistake. God doesn't have a son or a brother or a sister. Such a God, according to Shoghi Effendi in dispensation of Baha'u'llah, ceases to be God. Look at that. See how do I correlate them? So as you can see, why do we go to Haifa, Mecca, Jerusalem, or for that matter, any religious system? Is because we want to express our appreciation to a young man who suffered in order to manifest the attributes of God, and his hope, as it is written in his writing, that I, to the best of my capacity, day by day, become the signs of those attributes for humankind. Do you see how do we look at religion? This is why you may go to Haifa, but you may not get closer to God. Did you see the people who were close to Moses, Jesus, Muhammad? They betrayed them. The people who were close to Baha'u'llah, they looked at Mirza Hussain Ali and his human temple, and they forgot that his human temple is not his reality. His movement is operated by higher reality. This is why being in the presence of the manifestation of God doesn't guarantee you anything. This is why Agha Jan, his secretary, the first one to believe, 40 years was in his presence, he became one of the chief covenant breakers. Faith is to understand these things. This is why we have to reflect. Some people rather to die than to think. But think, because the highest gift of God is your intellect, Baha'u'llah. He says the people of the world have faith, but they do not think. And this is where religion and science go hand in hand. Let me, to end it with this concept. Religion in the making. What does that mean? By the way, this is also a title of a book by Alfred North Whitehead, Religion in the Making. In fact, I use that title to even apply it to my foundation, Human in the Making. It is all about the making. What do you mean? What do you mean by making? At the individual level, let your today be better than yesterday, tomorrow better than today. Baha'u'llah, Lohe, Hukama, Tablet of Wisdom. Today has one requirement, tomorrow has another requirement. Therefore, it is in the making. But today and yesterday and tomorrow have one constant thread, and that is humanism. Religions in the realm of time and space appear, develop, negate some of the laws based on the requirement of the age. But the faith stays constant because it is changeless. This is why we have concept called progressive revelation. This is why in philosophy we have concepts such as creative evolution. Henry Bergson. By the way, Bergson and Abdul Baha had some kind of connections, and you can see it in his writings. Creative evolution, that means they all are stages one after another, but each one is an introduction to the next one. Please pay attention. هر ظهوری مقدمه ظهور بعد است با Persian Bayan. Every dispensation is a prelude to the next one. He even says it beautifully in Persian Bayan and also in Panshan, 5 modes. He says, Muhammad, all the manifestation before Muhammad, they came because of Muhammad. All the manifestation on Muhammad came because of Bab himself. All the manifestation, including Bab, came for the one whom God shall make manifest, means Baha'u'llah. But please pay attention. And all the manifestation, including the one whom God shall make manifest, shall come because of the one whom God shall make manifest after the one whom God shall make manifest. And then he continues, after the one, after the one, after the one, until the end, which there is no end to it. That is the highest contribution for reviving religion. Ladies and gentlemen, if one religion says this is the last, that means human nobility has been disrespected. That means humans, that sky's a limit. They say this is it. All the problems of 21st century with religion has to do with ignoring these facts of relativity and continuity. religions work in the realm of relativity. And Baha'u'llah so beautifully, a part of the tablet is in Gleanings. He says social laws change. Those fundamental verities, unity, love, peace, they are all stay the same. But when in a subsequent age, you want to use something which belongs to the previous age, you create disorder. Now I have to end it again with this second item. Yes, religious institutions have hindered people. But do you know why? Because they consider themselves as an end. Bahá'í Faith never has done that. Bahá'í Faith considers institutions as a means that all the humankind can receive the revelation as it is. Please pay attention. The existence of the Universal House of Justice, the supreme body, has to be studied deeply. Why Baha'u'llah created that institution? You will see that changeless faith of God during the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, which is at least 1,000 years, will require many, many changes, even within 1,000 years. So what to do? On one hand, you have to maintain integrity of the faith, which are the fundamentals. And on the other hand, with the needs of the requirement of the age, you might need new direction. This is where the House of Justice comes in. House of Justice actually is a pillar that makes sure the writings of Baha'u'llah are intact, but anything which is not in the writings explicitly, then they have a right to actually ordain principal laws that operate with the requirement of the age. This is why they can change it. They themselves can change it. Then another House of Justice can change it. But it is important to recognize, read Shoghi Effendi, World Order Letters. Institutions are the means, not the end. That was the problem of the religions of the past. Please pay attention. And it was not religion's problem. It was lack of comprehension of people who were the followers. But in this religion, the way it has been set up, institution is a representation of the will of community. This is why regards for the institution is essential. It doesn't say if you have disagreement, if you have questions, you need to create duality within yourself. No, communicate with them, write to them, ask questions. Do you know majority of the tablets of Baha'u'llah have been revealed in answer to questions? Therefore, ask them, but with the spirit of humility. Remember, you are not talking to members. You are talking about the holistic will of the community. Then you will understand the concept of faith, which is changeless, religion, which is subject to change, And most importantly, both religion, science are the means, not the end. The end is the nobility of individual and unification of humankind. I hope I confused you enough that you can go and read some books and enlighten yourself and then enlighten me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that really great talk. I think we have a few questions, so maybe I'll ask one or two of them. So one of the questions is, love the creatures for the sake of God and not for themselves. You will never become angry or impatient if you love them for the sake of God. What does it mean to love for the sake of God?
Very good. Do you know anger? Now I have to put the hat of psychologist. Anger is an emotion. Anger is an emotion which, when somebody harms you, you react. But the nobility of humankind is measured by how you control those conflicting emotions. What does God mean? I told you, means a force, universal force, cosmic force, which generates cosmic religion, which leads to the unification. Now, if somebody bothers you, if somebody harms you, you do not harm them. Why? Because if you believe in the universal good, cosmic good, then you do not do what he did to you. Rather, you look at calamity not as a fire and vengeance, rather as a light and mercy. What does it mean as a psychologist? It means if somebody is a liar, don't try to answer him through deceptive practices of lying. Be truthful, because truth is God. For the sake of truth, if we accept the banishment, it's fine. But remember, you're actually helping that soul by not responding the same. Love of God means always operate based on principles. And those principles have to be universally beneficial. And therefore, even if somebody give you poison, give them honey. But what do you mean? Give them honey? What type of therapist you are? If somebody make me suffer, well, give them honey doesn't mean to allow them to cause suffering on you. Means that you can control the environment. Sometimes you have to separate. Sometimes you have to seek help. Remember, you never can use love without law. Without law, you cannot create justice, peace, and unity. Unity first, justice, and perpetual justice, peace are together. So the answer to your question is, for the sake of God means don't let his action, her action, to confine and shape your responses. No, look wider, look all-inclusive, and then respond that which is the sign of your own nobility, your own wisdom, your own understanding, and benefits him or her in the long run, and benefits humankind. Sometimes, if somebody harms you, the best way is justice, not revenge. Justice. Justice through law, through ordinances. So this is a very fundamental question. It requires discipline. It requires higher degree of cosmic understanding of law, but at the same time, doesn't allow for abuse of power in relationships or in any other settings.
Thank you. And one more question is, what book do you recommend to learn about the proof of the existence of God?
See, I tried to, Peyman Khanum, I tried so hard to say, God cannot be proven. How can I prove God? But Abdul Baha is kind. Abdul Baha is loving. He says some people like proof. This is okay, that's fine. There are so many proofs. For instance, read the Tablet of Wisdom by Baha'u'llah. Read some answer questions by Abdul Baha Abbas. I am referring to the sources in English. But overall, I want to say this, Paymana Khanum, please do not get mad at me. Look at your own self, inner self. You can see God. The greatest proof for me for that source of all good are the people who throughout the history have come in the faces of tribulation to become the source of all good to humanity. Look at Socrates, look at Plato, look at Gandhi, look at Mother Teresa, look at Tahirih, and look at 1,000 shining examples. They have, in the realm of human, in the realm of manifestations, look at what Baha'u'llah has done. Baha'u'llah has suffered that I may not suffer. So God has a lot of proofs, but Muhammad says, with the ordinary eye, which is confined to time and space, with the eye which is promoted by selfish desires, you never can see God. But if you have insight to the universe, do you know when you can feel that you know God? When the pain of every other human is like your own pain. When somebody dies in Israel, in Iran, in Gaza, you do not start to judge. You ask yourself, if I believe in God, how can I even be happy with one child dying in suffering? Do you see? So proof is only generates from mind. And ask yourself, how can a mind prove something which is beyond mind? If you believe that God is not a mental being, then how can you prove it? This is why I gave an example of the carpenter and the table. Table cannot prove the existence of God. It just relates to it through experiences. That is where I mentioned about William James. Shoghi Effendi, in his letters, he says, we believe in a God which is unknowable but personal. You have to, with your own reality, come to that cosmic reality. You call it whatever you want. Spinoza called it nature. But nature, Spinoza didn't mean material things, means essence of what creates this diversity. Read the first chapter in Some Answered Question. How does Abdul Baha Abbas look at nature, tabiyat? He says outwardly, on surface, it is not orderly. Inside, inwardly, in essence, it is a speaking of nothing but order. So another very important point is no two persons know God or understand God or accept God similar to each other. I love this passage of Muhammad when they ask him what is the best way to know God, to get to God. He says the number of the ways that can lead to God is according to the number of people who have been created. Bob has a treatise, Risale Suluk. It is about the tablet of Truth Seeker. He explains this passage of Muhammad, and he says, intention is very important. Your intention has to be holistic, has to be universal. Then you will understand the concepts such as God. You understand why there are twin forces of integration, disintegration. You understand the concept of prayer. The source of all things is the universal good that you have to understand. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Well, it looks like we're out of time, but thank you so much for your talk and for answering our questions. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for giving me the privilege to be at your service, and please remember me in your prayers. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
So this talk will be on our YouTube channel. I've put the link to that in the chat so you can subscribe. And if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, you can also sign up. The link is in the chat. And our talk next week will be given by Marco Oliveira. And his topic is, actually, we were just talking about this. It's The Tablet of Wisdom by Baha'u'llah, A Breath of Life to Mankind. So these talks are every Saturday at noon Eastern time. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Bye.